Inside Africa, in association with Zenith Bank.
Stand by, silence set, camera rolling, action!
Out of the horrors of Liberia's Ebola crisis comes a story of hope and revival that hopes to revive the country's film industry.
When the Ebola took place, I always said to myself, this is gruesome, it's horrific, but years from now, maybe people will forget. So I knew there was a time that was coming that we need to put a story together. Tell the story of Ebola, but in another fashion, not just be documentary or maybe just coming hard on what occurred, but we'll use some human interest happenings to be able to explain what occurred during the health crisis in Liberia. And that's just what we've done with this film.
Meet Liberia's next generation of storytellers and filmmakers.
I think it's important that Liberians tell Liberian stories because nobody can tell your story like you do. Somebody else will see it from, you know, the outside perspective. You are the one living what you were telling or what you want to tell or going to tell.
Scripts pulled from real life, living the story while building their country's film industry. This is Lollywood. This is Inside Africa. West Africa is home to some of the continent's most prolific film industries. Nigeria's Nollywood, Ghana's Gollywood, and now Liberia's Lollywood.
Lollywood is the Liberian film industry that is still very young, and we are hoping to do everything within our own reach to make it to grow. Lollywood is far different from other African movie industries because for those guys, they've been doing it for a while now and they have a lot of sponsors, a lot of investment pumped into it. For Lollywood, people are only just trying to make things out of their own resources and just try to do something, you know, because of the passion.
While the industry is still very much in its infancy, a team of aspiring filmmakers are driving it. Meet Eddie Watson Jr., Nuruddin Sani, and Cosme Pulano. Hungry and motivated by a desire to own Liberia's stories.
So when you're telling your story, you have that raw, that genuineness, that rawness to your story that people will see your pain or feel your pain. People will feel what you're going through. People will be able to relate to you better because it's you experienced it.
They have lived through the country's most difficult times, from civil war to the Ebola health crisis. And they are starting to use the medium of film to tell these stories through their lens.
People learn easily from what they see. There's so many things here in our country that people will have to know. There are few people who are educated, but they're able to remember what they see. So I believe this is one way that we can tell so many stories. For example, the Ebola story we're telling. We remember that, yes, one day in our past, we had this outbreak, which was the worst ever in the world. So there's a need. There's a need that we continue to tell our stories through film or through television.
They discovered a shared love for film over 20 years ago as school kids in Liberia's capital city, Monrovia.
This is the former St. Patrick's Catholic School. This is where we all met, you know. We were probably around 12 years old, yeah. This is so special to us because back then, this was like the best cool
In the entire country.
in the entire country. Yeah. I think it's helped all of us. I think this school really gave us our foundation.
But that strong foundation was rocked when civil war broke out in Liberia.
So it was so troubling when the school was closed, 1996,
96.
after the fracas.
And that's how we all divided, yeah.
Our time together.
The war shut down not only their school, but also the very small local television industry. Despite all this, they each held on to their shared passion for movies.
So this is T.N. Moore Cinema, Silver Bird, and it is the only cinema we have in Monrovia currently. And we're hoping that very soon we can help to make sure that we shape the film industry and make sure there are very good contents and there are more cinemas.
Today, these old friends have been reunited in the very place where their journey began, Monrovia.
Wow. So this is where it all started. This is my neighborhood. This is my hood. It's called Matadi Estate, Old Matadi Estate. I mean, this is where I used to live. This is where I grew up, right down there. My family is still there. I had a barber shop here. I think the kids now, they're running the barber shop, but I had this barber shop here, and I had another kiosk here. I used to change money and sell DVDs, Nigerian movies, even rent them out to people around. I never thought I was going to be on one of those DVD spots, and people were going to be watching me all around the world.
Eddie is a movie star, famous for his roles in both Nollywood and Gollywood.
Action!
This will be the first time he is making a movie on home soil.
The story was something I just wanted to be a part of. Hell's Gate is a movie set during the 2014 Ebola crisis in Liberia. And it's a love story in the midst of the crisis. So I think telling this story, we are able to tell our version. We are able to go to the communities and how people actually reacted, how families were broken, how lovers were separated, how people died in the arms of their loved ones, how their loved ones were affected by the crisis.
Based on real events, this is their story.
The impact we are trusting that this film will have is to let the world know that epidemic can occur anytime. It's not just a one-person fight, it's a global fight.
Next, we meet the people and hear the real-life experiences that inspired a movie and a movement.
Thinking of banking in Africa? Think Zenith. In today's fast-moving, fast-changing world, you need a financial partner that understands your unique expectations. A bank with presence in major financial centers across the world, with the enabling platform to facilitate seamlessly, whenever, wherever, however. A bank with best-in-class financial solutions from a superb combination of technology and human touch. For easy, fast, and secure banking that creates real value. Turning dreams into reality is now in your hands. People, technology, service. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
There are all kinds of smiles. The everything will be fine smile. The my daddy is the best smile. The not a care in the world smile. And the wish I were a child smile. Kirloska, behind a million smiles, silently and reliably.
No holds barred.
Out front tonight, hypocrite in chief.
No nonsense.
How stupid do you think we are?
Because getting to the truth matters. Aaron Burnett out front, Sunday.
The journey to the top for a successful business in Africa starts with an idea. But how does a concept become a moneymaker? African and global industry leaders share their stories. Friday on Profit Point in CNN Marketplace Africa in association with Dangote.
Working from his studio in Liberia's capital, Nuruddin Sani is editing his first feature film. Based on real-life events, it will be the first time a movie is being made on the devastating Liberia Ebola crisis by Liberians.
From my youthful days, maybe I was around 7, 8, I was just fascinated about television. Till my mother used to ask me, Nuru, will TV put food on your table? And I told her yes, but it was something I just felt that I was born to do it.
Over 30 years later, together with filmmakers Cosme Polano and Eddie Watson Jr., Nuruddin is set on showing his mother and the world the power of film in Liberia. Their hope is that this movie will open doors for the young local film industry.
I want to be a change maker. I've seen people doing a lot of productions in Liberia. I mean, it's not that they don't want to do good productions, but they don't have probably the know-how, they don't have the capacity. But I've learned some things I myself can contribute, and we all can help to push it. I believe that we're here to set the pace, we're here to make some changes, and others can learn from us. We're like torch bearers, pushing good films, so that tomorrow, young people can see it and say, wow.
Nuruddin is a self-taught camera operator. After graduating as an electrical engineer, he decided to rather pursue a career in film. When the Ebola crisis hit Liberia in 2014, most people stayed put, but not him.
It was very important for me to be out filming because most foreign journalists and other media experts were afraid. They were all afraid to come to Liberia. There were many times I just told myself, Nuru, you have to keep filming. That's one reason I told my wife, you just gotta trust God, not me. Don't trust me because I may be careless and I may mess things up. But just trust God because we have to put the story out.
His footage was broadcast on news channels across the world, but at great risk to both him and his family.
Then my wife was pregnant at the time. She said, Nuru, you gotta stop either going to the ETUs or you gotta stop coming home. Because if you get infected, I mean, definitely you're gonna spread it with us. It was a time of total fear, I mean, amongst many Liberians because no one knew who was the enemy. You don't know who's carrying the virus because the person might be looking good at the time. People were afraid. It was actually putting families apart.
Once again, the three childhood friends found themselves at the center of a national crisis.
Okay, now we are at the top of the Ducal Hotel. This is the highest point in Monrovia. Over this hotel, you can see Central Town, downtown. You can also see West Point. Now, West Point, that was where we had a major quarantine situation during the health crisis. West Point is overlooking us with a population of approximately 70,000 people. When President Sirleaf gave the State of the Nation address at the time and declared a state of emergency, there was panic all over the place. Everyone, oh God, we're in hell. I said, God, we're here. I know you love us, you care for us. I know you will do everything to protect us. And I just went out with that peace. And God did it. He protected us.
Ebola has been described as a disease of care because most people become infected by tending to their sick loved ones.
The locals here call this Ebola country.
By May 2015, almost 75% of the country had been affected either directly or indirectly by Ebola, and the death toll stood at just over 4,700.
We must make this film because we must remember the past, we must learn from our mistakes and prepare for the future. When we see these things, those who were not impacted in other ways during the outbreak can also learn and make sure that they take the necessary precautions for the future.
61, take 2, action.
Deeply impacted by the health crisis, the trio started to document their experiences, which became the backbone for the film they are making today.
Telling this story, we are able to tell our version. We are able to go to the communities and how people actually reacted, how families were broken, how weddings, like what happened in Hell's Gate, it was put on halt because of the whole Ebola crisis, how lovers were separated, how people died in the arms of their loved ones, how their loved ones were affected by the crisis.
Critical to making the film was the guidance of Dr. Mosoka Fala, the state's principal investigator for Ebola. A Harvard alumni, he has a master's degree in infectious diseases and epidemiology.
Ebola is a highly infectious zoonotic disease. It's a disease that comes from animal to human. What makes Ebola unique is the rate at which it leads to death.
When Ebola broke out, Dr. Fala was visiting his home country on an unrelated project for USAID.
So once I heard Ebola, I actually panicked. And I'm not calling the assistant minister and say, what can I do to help? I mean, my project was ending. I was about to go back to the States. And I went to the ministry and told them and said, it's time that all hands on deck because this is going to spread. There was limited logistics, ambulance, there was limited knowledge. So international support came very late. And so then I got involved in the surveillance part of the disease. I already got involved in preparing communities, educating communities.
While the epidemic in Liberia was declared over in 2015, Dr. Fala's work on the ground continues. His focus now is to develop Liberia's access to health in case of another outbreak.
So we've done a good job. You think we...
Yeah, I think you guys did a good job to represent.
After Nuruddin and Cosme finished the first draft of their movie script, they reached out to Dr. Fala and asked him to review it.
I appreciated it. I mean, he would tell you, Cosme would tell you, as I read, I started to cry again. Cosme would tell you because I was crying. I was reliving the experiences. This is good, this is good. I wrote some comments. I said, you got to bring the technical part in, we got to do the reality. And I said to him, I want to get the Liberian voices.
But the value of this film goes beyond that.
Hell's Gate, being a film of healing, many people have told me, many survivors that we tried to speak to, told me they could not tell me the stories. They do not want to remember the past. But we believe that there is still a need that we remind ourselves of what took place. And I believe that if we can tell our story, if we can watch it many times, we can get healing from it.
Action, Mrs. Daniels!
Next, we go behind the scenes in the final days of filming.
Thinking of banking in Africa? Think Zenith. In today's fast-moving, fast-changing world, you need a financial partner that understands your unique expectations. A bank with presence in major financial centers across the world, with the enabling platform to facilitate seamlessly, whenever, wherever, however. A bank with best-in-class financial solutions from a superb combination of technology and human touch. For easy, fast, and secure banking that creates real value. Turning dreams into reality is now in your hands. People, technology, service. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
There are all kinds of smiles. The I am blessed smile. The caught you smile. The not a care in the world smile. And the wish I were a child smile. Kirloska, behind a million smiles, silently and reliably.
This is CNN.
is the set of Hell's Gate, a Liberian film that tells the story of the Ebola health crisis that rocked the country from 2014 to 2015.
Ebola shattered this nation. It destroyed the economy. It destroyed the lives of people. It broke families apart. It was not something to play with.
Scene 61, dry run.
This will be the first locally made film about Ebola, as told by the people who experienced it firsthand.
The impact we are trusting that this film will have is to let the world know that epidemic can occur anytime. It's not just a one-person fight, it's a global fight.
The script follows a young couple whose plans to marry are thrown into turmoil by the pandemic.
Welcome to the set of Hell's Gate. This is day 19, and we're shooting at the ETU. The ETU is actually the Ebola treatment unit. Guys, are we ready, Nuru? Nuru, are we good? Can we roll? Sound. Action.
The Liberian film industry, or Lollywood, is still being developed, but these young filmmakers are hoping to make big changes.
I'm hoping that through this film, we are going to see people looking at Liberia say, oh yeah, we have some potential storytellers, we have actors, so it can shine some light on the industry, the young industry in Liberia.
You guys come out.
And this is the final stretch. With just days of filming left, all hands are on deck, with almost everyone doubling up on roles.
Scriptwriter, storyteller, be the producer, executive producer, and then production manager.
And he's also been integral to the set design.
LED.
While Eddie plays producer, director, and lead actor. And Nuruddin runs point on lights, camera, and sound.
Well, on this set, we have 3 cameras. So we're trying to achieve something out of the ordinary, a film style look.
It's sweltering, with temperatures reaching close to 40 degrees Celsius, but the crew pushes on. They're about to shoot the most important scene of the day with the film's leading actress, Koto Davis.
What I love most about the film is the challenge. It's challenge because in the midst of doing the Ebola, I wasn't in Liberia. I was in Ghana by then. You know, so playing the character as Ebola patient is really something that I like so much.
At the heart of this movie is a story about love in the time of Ebola, as told by the characters Musu, played by Koto, and her fiancé Francis, played by Eddie.
Musu, a mid-13 young woman who's in love with a guy who's been out of the country for so long, and she's been anticipating seeing him. So she's been wanting him to come back to Liberia to get married.
Will you marry me?
Oh, it's beautiful.
Francis is a guy who went outside to study, you know, like most Africans, and he's been promising the lady to wait. He's going to come back to get married, but he finally came back to get married, and the Ebola stuff started in Liberia.
Our nation has been overwhelmed by Ebola. The devastation of the outbreak has shown that no one is exempted.
Stand by.
In the scene they are about to shoot, Koto's character has been admitted to the Ebola treatment unit, which has been perfectly replicated by Cosme and his design team. Koto is Liberian, but like Eddie, she has made most of her films outside of the country, more out of necessity than choice.
In Liberia, I would describe us as, for now, for a struggling industry. So we are not being well paid. We are still trying to survive, yeah.
Yeah, let's go.
Together, these producers, directors, actors, and crew are banding together to change that.
I tell you, every country like Liberia who's trying to rebrand, one of the major ways of rebranding is through the art. If you want to rebrand your country, yeah, you can do every other thing, but the way people see your country is what we are able to give out. And mostly what we are able to give out is what we can show through our arts, through our music, through our movies, most especially.
Inside Africa, in association with Zenith Bank.